While many emphasize adoption trends occurring in Africa, the applications and reach of Cardano as a financial and social operating system is truly global. As an enterprise-grade public blockchain, one of the missions of Cardano Foundation is to support the positive advancement of Cardano with regulated financial institutions. Beyond providing support for the ADA cryptocurrency, our goal for blockchain technology is to see the adoption and use of Cardano as decentralized infrastructure. With me today is John Januszczak, President and CEO of UBX, to talk more about their leadership role in enabling mass market adoption in the Philippines. Hello, John.
Hello, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what UBX is?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm John Januszczak, and I'm with UBX. UBX is the fintech venture studio and venture fund that we spun out of UnionBank of the Philippines, which is one of the top 10 universal banks in the country. UBX was spun out of UnionBank based on some observations and some experiences that we had at UnionBank. UnionBank's been on a digital transformation journey for many years. And in the scope of that digital transformation, we wrapped the bank with an API, core banking peripheral systems, all encapsulated behind an API. And that enabled innovation on top of the bank, digital innovation. But it also allowed us to integrate the bank or banking services directly into the systems of others, such as, for example, large corporate clients. And so we asked the question, well, what if this is actually the future of financial services, that they will be seamlessly and invisibly embedded into not just the systems of large corporate customers, but into the everyday activities and experiences that matter to all consumers and to all businesses. So that was one observation. The second observation that we had was that, and keep in mind that the Philippines, like many emerging markets, is a market where many people, and in the Philippines, the majority of people are unbanked. They don't have a formal bank account, a formal banking relationship. And if they're not unbanked, they are significantly underbanked. And the second observation we had was that digital platforms were acquiring these customers at a scale and at a pace, that was much faster and much larger than, for example, these individuals and these businesses being formally banked. And so that was the second observation we had. And so we said, look, what we need to do to provide opportunity and access to all through financial services, through inclusion into the financial systems of the country, is we needed to be first and foremost a technology company. We needed to be building digital platforms for digitally and financially underserved communities to actually acquire and engage with these customers. And if we weren't building those platforms directly, we needed to be aggregating and virtualizing financial services so that they could be invisibly and programmatically embedded into the platforms of others. And so we spun UBX out of UnionBank to pursue developing these technology driven value propositions with an aim ultimately to embed financial services.
That's really great to hear. I've been to the Philippines several times as I'm based in Taiwan. And as a country, the Philippines is, how I see, has quite a few challenges for adopting, fintech solutions, let alone blockchain technology. I'm curious, from your perspective, what do you see as kind of like the main barriers to adoption, and how do you overcome these challenges?
So yeah, three things, I guess. One is the Philippines is a country of over 7,000 islands. So it's a geographically dispersed country. That's number one. Number two, what goes hand in hand with that geographical distribution or disbursement is the actual financial service providers themselves. The Philippines has literally hundreds upon hundreds of regulated financial institutions and literally thousands of community-based non-banking financial service providers. So the first challenge is how do you, from an infrastructure perspective, connect everyone? The second challenge is how do you, so digital is very well placed to reach people and to cut down the cost of distribution, but how do you actually get people digitally onboarded? That's the second challenge. And then the third challenge is the economics of it all. So while digital in and of itself is well placed to bring down the cost of distribution, whatever you do, even digitally, has to be economically viable, both from a product and from a distribution perspective. And that's exactly what led UnionBank and UBX, or UnionBank through UBX. That's what actually led us to the blockchain. We saw that the blockchain could address many of those problems. The blockchain itself is a distributed architecture, so it plays well to the distributed nature of both the geography and the financial service providers, number one. And number two is because it's distributed and doesn't rely on a central authority or a centralized infrastructure, the economics, at least on paper, play well to the economic viability that we were looking for. And so that's how we started with the blockchain. And the third problem, I won't let you forget the third challenge, and that was getting people digitally onboarded. But let me explain to you via a real use case how we actually took advantage of the blockchain, the benefits of the blockchain, but then addressed that third problem. So one of our first projects that we created on the blockchain is called I2I, and I2I stands for institution to institution, individual to individual, island to island. I already mentioned the over 7,000 islands. I mentioned hundreds and then thousands of non-banking financial institutions. And then, of course, the most important of them all, and that's the over 100 million people who live in the Philippines. So we used the blockchain to create a distributed real-time automated clearinghouse. Then what we did is we onboarded the community-based financial institutions to participate in this network. And so, these institutions themselves have traditionally been excluded from the larger financial systems of the country, and it's usually because of economics and technical capability. So we had a fully web-based managed service on the back of blockchain that took both the need for technological capability and for economics off the table in a very positive way. So we were able to onboard, hundreds of financial institutions that were maybe too small to participate in the larger centralized clearinghouses. But we were also at the same time to open that up to a whole new generation of community-based non-banking financial service providers to join this network. And because they're in the community, they are extremely well placed to onboard the many millions of people to this digital platform, or to a digital platform. And so by leveraging the community-based financial institutions in a blockchain-based network, we are able to reach the farthest reaches of the country. And imagine, because of I2I and because we connect I2I through our relationship with UnionBank to the financial payment systems, the centralized financial payment systems of the country. Today, someone in the most remotest island of the Philippines can go to their community-based financial service provider, and literally in real time and digitally, they can move funds or make a payment to anyone else on the network, including making a payment to, for example, a supplier in Metro Manila directly into their bank account at a large universal bank. And so that's what we've made possible by leveraging on the blockchain and leveraging on the de facto network of community-based financial service providers in the country.
I think this is a very good segue to speak about, Cardano clearly. So what announcement do you have to make today on what UBX is doing with Cardano?
Well, I'm very excited to announce that we are launching UBX staking, and UBX as a wholly owned subsidiary of UnionBank of the Philippines. We will, as far as I understand it, we will be the first regulated institution running a staking pool on the Cardano platform. So that's what I'm very excited to announce today. But maybe it would be equally exciting to share what we think this means for us. So by running the staking pool, we are participating directly in the Cardano infrastructure. We're participating directly in the consensus protocol of the blockchain. But the bigger picture for us is it will allow us a platform upon which to innovate and to support the innovation of others when it comes to financial applications, decentralized finance, and the kind of financial inclusion that we are trying to drive. For example, based on our eye-to-eye story that I just shared. And so that's the bigger picture for us. We want to participate directly in the infrastructure, but this is just the start for us. On top of this, we will be building financial applications, use cases, and decentralized finance applications and use cases that will positively and materially impact the kind of opportunity and access that we are trying to drive by including many, many people who are currently unbanked or underbanked in the Philippines.
So John, you bring up a lot of interesting points to actually follow up on. And the first one that I want to start with is actually regulated financial institution operations. So by running a stake pool, you are in effect running a block producing node and assuming integrations with decent infrastructure. So from a risk perspective, how do you actually view this? The fact that you are having part of your critical applications on an asset structure that is not fully owned by the bank itself or by UBX?
Yeah, so we have, three things. Number one, we are leveraging on our experience with the blockchain. So we've been involved in, with other blockchain platforms and protocols in the past, including, all of the popular ones like Bitcoin and Ethereum. So number one is we have experience, we have comfort with blockchain in general. And we have built already, prior to joining with Cardano, we have built other use cases and applications. So number one, we have experience, we have comfort. In the scope of that experience and comfort, we, as a regulated institution, we have worked with the regulator, from socializing what we're doing all the way to having central bank approved blockchain-based applications like Eye-to-Eye, like PHX, which is a Philippine peso denominated stablecoin approved by the central bank, and including other innovations like through our investment in the Philippine Digital Asset Exchange, we partnered with PDAX to launch bonds.ph last year, which was a blockchain-enabled platform that allowed ordinary Filipinos to participate in the purchase of retail sovereign bonds from the government of the Philippines. So number two is on top of our experience and working through all of the problems that would allow us to feel secure in the platform. We have also worked with the regulator every step of the way. So that is the that is the second part of it. And the third part of it is we see the blockchain as where innovation in the future will take place. So to be quite honest with you, there is some innovation that occurs on top of centralized payment systems and clearinghouses, but we see much, much more innovation occurring on top of open and decentralized platforms, such as Cardano. And maybe one of the reasons for the uninitiated, the world of blockchain and decentralized finance seems so confusing, and maybe that is a bit of a negative for people who are coming into the ecosystem for the first time. It can be awfully confusing. But the positive side of that is the confusion is a side effect of all of the innovation that's occurring on these platforms. And when innovation is occurring at that scale on these platforms, if you are a financial service provider, this is exactly where you need to be, because this is the future, because that's exactly where all this innovation is taking place.
That's right. We like to say that the future is here, but it's not evenly distributed. And that brings me to my second question for you, which is, what role do you see yourself for bridging the traditional, financial world with the new financial world, especially in the Philippines, as we do currently have a large community of ADA holders and other stake pool operators that exist in the Philippines. So how are you adding value to enabling that adoption?
Yeah, I think we are in a unique position to provide a lot of value, and I think it stems from the chasm that needs to be crossed from traditional finance to the future of blockchain and decentralized finance. So yes, there will be let's call them purists or blockchain digital natives that will go all in, and they will live, and it's already happening. Of course, they're living quite comfortably in a decentralized or a DeFi world. But we also have a very large traditional economy that, for the most part, relies on existing rails, existing financial systems, payment systems, etc. And of course, in the Philippines and in many emerging markets, the opportunity is already what I alluded to. You still have this kind of very large unbanked or underbanked segment. And so we are in a unique position to cross that chasm. And so let me speak about it concretely, and then maybe zoom out to maybe what the bigger picture is. So for example, I talked about the eye-to-eye platform, and we have a blockchain-based system that connects all of these community-based financial institutions to each other, and by extension, their customers. But one of the biggest use cases is actually connecting that blockchain-based, real-time distributed automated clearinghouse to the existing centralized clearinghouses and payment systems of the country. And so while people are reaping the benefits of this decentralized architecture, at the same time, they need to coexist with the legacy or with the centralized payment systems. And then, of course, UBX being part of the UnionBank family, we can provide access to those services. So we bridge the existing financial systems of the country with the future, with the blockchain-based, the decentralized finance use cases and applications. That's number one. Number two is for people going the other way. They're in the traditional system. They see the opportunity. They see the promise of decentralized finance. They want to get involved in that innovation, but they want to deal with somebody that they know and that they trust. And so again, UBX, and by extension, our relationship to the UnionBank brand, affords us the opportunity to onboard them into the world of decentralized finance, but with a name, with a brand that they know and that they can trust.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. And as we're wrapping up here, because we're getting close to running out of our time, unfortunately, as the first regulated financial entity to be running a public stake pool, which again, congratulations. And I would like to be the first to welcome you to the Cardano ecosystem. What advice do you have to your peers who are watching around the world as they're considering how they can be integrating with, blockchain technology and running their own infrastructure?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for the welcome, and we are absolutely thrilled and excited to be here. Staking, again, I'll repeat myself, this is just the beginning for us. It's important for us to be involved directly in the infrastructure, but this is just the beginning. We are going to leverage, as others will as well. We are going to leverage, others are going to leverage, and we are going to co-create with other innovators on top of this exciting platform. We are extremely aware of the limitations of what's come before in blockchain, and that's that's yet again another reason why we're so excited about the innovation that Cardano itself actually is and represents. So thank you very much for welcoming us, and we're excited to be here. For others that want to get involved from the community of existing financial institutions, I think the message is implied in what I've shared already. Number one, get started. You get started in some way, and it could be as simple as using UBX to bridge yourselves from. We are aggregating and virtualizing all financial service providers. We spun ourselves out of UnionBank so that we could be, by definition, open. We cooperate with all financial service providers, and in fact, on our eye-to-eye network, at a certain level, we are cooperating with what some might see as competitors of UnionBank. But the future is open, and in the case of the Philippines and other developed economies, the biggest problem isn't the competition between us. The biggest problem is that a majority of the population remains unbanked, underbanked, and if it's not banking, they're just not financially served. And so it's a very big ocean. We need everyone to be fishing. And my advice is just get started in decentralized finance, in some of these blockchain-based ecosystems. And together, whether it's through a formal bank account or directly through an application, a decentralized financial application, together, we can all share. And in fact, we all need to share in UBX's vision of opportunity and access for all. And together, we will make a positive and material impact on truly inclusive prosperity and financial inclusion.
I think that's a perfect soundbite to end on, John. So I'd like to thank you for participating with the Cardano 2021 Annual Summit. And thank you again for announcing the UBX is running UBX staking, a public stake pool on the Cardano network. So thank you once again.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you.